Normally on this channel, we like to focus on the fun of riding, the joys of riding, but today we have to talk about something serious that's been weighing on my heart. We're going to talk about why I think so many riders keep crashing and even dying, no matter how skilled they are. We are down here at Daytona Beach in Florida for Daytona Bike Week, and events like this attract riders of all different kinds, all different skill sets, and it made me come to this realization that we're going to talk about today, and I felt it was important to share with you guys. So without further ado, let's hop on the Rebel and talk about it, and make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Doing little baby power wheelies. That's kind of a good place to start off. All right, so now normally, I'm gonna be honest, normally when I do videos like this, I have kind of my thoughts planned out where I can do bullet points of like, here are 3 reasons why people keep crashing and da-da-da-da-da. But this is kind of gonna
Today, Junior?
just be like stream of consciousness. This is something I've talked to a few people about since I've been down here and with some of the stuff that I've seen, and I feel like it's important to share with you guys. So that guy doing little baby power wheelies back there, like 2 feet from a car, definitely kind of exemplifies some of it. And I'm gonna lead off with a story that involves my girlfriend Nina, which should hopefully help solidify the point. Babe, I'm sorry if you don't want me telling this story, but I am going to. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, my girlfriend Nina also rides motorcycles, and she's only had her license for, I don't know, I lose track of time, but I would say, what, like a year or 2? Yeah, coming up on 2 years. Anyway, when she was first learning how to ride, we had this time where she was getting better and she was getting a lot more comfortable on the bike, and we were coming back from, I think, like practicing in a parking lot somewhere, or maybe we were out riding. Regardless, we were coming back through the neighborhood, and there's like kind of like a twisty road in our neighborhood, and it's just like a typical neighborhood road, speed limit of like 25 miles per hour. And at that point, we would go out riding and have our cardos hooked up so that I could be behind her and watch how she's riding and kind of give her points and tips along the way. So I was riding behind her, and she was on this road that has a 25 mile per hour speed limit, and she took it at like, I don't know, 40 or 45. What is this person doing? At like 40 or 45, and she handled it very well. However, it wasn't how she should have been riding in that instance, because it's a twisty road that has a blind turn, and when you come around that corner, if you're doing that much more than the speed limit, by the time that you see a car or the car sees you, it's gonna kind of be too late, you know? The car's already gonna think that it's clear and be pulling out before they see you, and you're gonna be at a speed where you can't slow down in time before hitting them. I think that was my turn. So I said, listen, babe, that's how you're gonna get hurt. There's no way that you could stop in time, whatever. I kind of just explained it to her, and she got really upset because she was really excited about how well she did there. She was getting comfortable enough with the bike that in her head, she's like, I took those turns so fast, and I leaned and I held my line. I'm getting more and more skilled. So she was expecting me to be very proud of her, when in reality, Rebel 500, when in reality, I gave her a bit of a talking to, if you will. Ooh, did he just almost drop that, dude? So the conversation that we had revolved around, I'm proud of you that you can do that, yet I wish that you had realized that you should not have done that. Since then, she's done very, very well with that, but that was kind of just like a learning moment for her between can and should. And I don't know if it's just my algorithm or what, but I feel like I've been seeing more and more motorcycle crashes on Instagram and TikTok and everything, and you know, some of them are newer riders, but then there's other ones that it is skilled riders. You know, the people who are crashing and sometimes unfortunately even dying. Think about when you see those posts. Everybody's always saying, oh, they were such a skilled rider. They were one of the best riders I know. What are these people doing, dude, other than proving my point? Anyway, you rarely ever see somebody crash and then all the comments are saying, oh, they were a terrible rider, no wonder they crashed. The comments are always saying they were the best rider that I know, they're such a skilled rider. So if these riders are actually so skilled, why are they crashing? And I believe that all comes down to the difference between can and should. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. There's a difference between skill and discernment. Just because you have the skill to do something, that's not going to keep you safe. The thing that's going to keep you safe is the discernment to know when to use that skill. For example, that guy that was back there doing little baby power wheelies like a foot or two away from the back bumper of the car in front of him. Just because, what the hell? Just because you have the skill, if you want to call power wheelies a skill, just because you have the skill, that is not going to keep you safe because you did not have the discernment to know, hey, this is not the best time for me to be doing this on a street that is highly trafficked, has a slow speed limit, and you're right up next to a car. And I feel like, you know, not to generalize, but I feel like I see lots of this happening in the sport bike community, and I think there's another reason to that also, which I'll get to as well. But I feel like it happens in the sport bike community a lot because, you know, you have these guys who have these crazy fast bikes and they're going to track days and they're getting all of this skill, learning how to ride fast on the track and the proper way to do things and whatever, but that does not always translate to the street. Just because you can take this turn at 100 and something miles per hour does not mean that you should take the turn at that speed. On a track, things are a lot more controlled. Wow, it's windy. I hope the audio's okay. Let's go, shawty. Just because you can ride without a helmet doesn't mean you should. Anyway, track environments are much more controlled. On a track, you don't have to worry about, when I come around this turn, is there going to be a 2x4 in the middle of my lane? When I crest this hill, is there going to be an 8-point buck standing directly in front of me? There are a lot more variables on the street, which requires much more discernment. Discernment to say, just because I have this skill and I can do this, should I? And I think that discernment is lacking in a lot of riders, whether they're new riders or seasoned riders, and that is what is getting a lot of people hurt. And I think that also ties into ego. I feel like, again, maybe it's just what I'm being shown on social media, or maybe this is how things are, but I feel like ego plays a big part. People get in a big group and they feel like they need to show off. They feel like they need to show off how skilled they are. Even if it's not an appropriate time to show that skill off, they want to show it off.
Kind of unfortunate that I'm waiting for somebody to loop. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Yeah. No good.
People see their favorite creators on TikTok and Instagram and everything riding S1000RRs and leader bikes, and they think that that is the norm, and that's what you should just jump straight into. The way that things should be, I think, is start off with a small bike and work your way up so that you can get those skills and translate them as you go up and learn the discernment as you go. Because if you don't have the discernment to know I should not be cracking the throttle wide open right now, that discernment is going to get you hurt a lot faster on a leader bike than it is on a Ninja 400. There's a reason why places like the UK have licensing laws where you have to start on like a 125, then go to a 400, then a 600, then a leader bike. But in the good old US of A, where you can crank your hog with no helmet, you can also get your license and the next day go buy a bike that'll do 180 miles per hour. So for somebody who already doesn't have the discernment to know that that's a bad idea, they probably also don't have the discernment to know just because they can doesn't mean that they should. So yeah, ego plays a part, I think, in people advancing through bikes quicker than they should, and it also plays a part in people who are showing off or doing things that they shouldn't be doing at times that they shouldn't be doing them. Group rides, I feel like, are becoming more and more popular and bigger and bigger, and lots of people, you know, they're perfecting their power wheelies, and then they get in a group of people and they think that that's a good place to do it, and next thing you know, you're not covering your rear brake and you're eating shit because of your ego wanting to show off and lacking discernment to know that just because you can doesn't mean that you should. At the end of the day, we all want to ride motorcycles to have fun, have some sort of throttle therapy, some sort of adrenaline, some sort of a release, and I understand that sometimes in order to have that fun, you have to push limits and you have to do things that are kind of stupid. However, if your main focus is to have fun, or if you're one of the people who just do it to look cool, if your main purpose is to look cool, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I hate to say it so bluntly, but you cannot have fun and you cannot look cool if you're dead. And even, ooh, bad boy, what is going on here? Looks like this guy didn't have the discernment to know that just because he can drive a certain way, that doesn't mean that he should in front of a police officer. Anyway, yeah, if you don't have the discernment to be a safe rider when you need to be a safe rider, you're going to get hurt and not be able to ride. And if you're hurt and not able to ride, then you no longer look cool and you're no longer having fun. And God forbid that the extreme happens and you die. Nobody looks cool dead, and nobody can ride a motorcycle dead. Well, I'd like to think there's motorcycles in heaven, but you get it. So hopefully I drove my point home. Get all the skill that you can. Practice, practice, practice. But remember to use your discernment. Just because you have the skill to do something does not mean that it is always appropriate to do that thing. Shout out to the Patreon members for making all of this possible. I couldn't be doing crazy things like coming here to Bike Week if it weren't for you guys. And if you want to support me on this crazy journey that I'm on and just help the channel in the biggest and best way possible, check out patreon.com/LifeOfBurch, where you can pledge your monthly amount. I did just recently drop an exclusive vlog for them over there, which I think lots of you guys will like. Stay safe. Love y'all. Peace.
Oh, so basic. Hope you play this. Damn, I prayed it. Nice song, and I became this. Old souls fake it. Paid those placements. Fuck shit. And I'm still waiting on the brighter days. Been a minute, been rough many times more. And I'm kicking rocks to a sky of gray. Praying hard, talk to me before I'm done for.